free-to-play MMOs generally, I would say, are not worth your time because no one builds an MMO with all of its dev costs and all its balancing and all its world building and all its everything, even if it's just a PvP versus MMO where that's the bad guy, go get him. Nobody does that without wanting to recoup costs. So what are they going to do? They're going to inject a grind. They're going to put a bunch of nonsense currencies. And then the real thing that you need to unlock stuff is going to be put in via, let's say, gems or souls or rubies or, you know what, widgets. Fucking widgets. I don't believe free-to-play is valid because the grinds are going to be so crazy. For example, Rift. I recently played Rift. All that jazz. I came back and paid for it, and then I looked at what my patron bonuses gave me. I got a 40% experience buff, and they have a Paragon leveling system. So once you hit max, there's more levels to gain to get stat buffs. So imagine that 40% slower. Imagine getting 25% less currency, because that's one of the buffs that you get as a patron. You get 25% increased currency. So I definitely think that free-to-play MMOs, they could probably be done okay, but I want to avoid the Genshin Impact model, where I got 40 hours of real good gameplay, and then, after I'm hooked, you go for the blood. That's my take on free-to-play MMOs.
I think I kind of agree to that to a point, but I wouldn't have tried. Well, I suppose this comes to the debate of complete free-to-play model versus free trial. But things like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, I wouldn't have even looked at if I have had to, if I'd have had to have paid money to then go and decide I don't like it. Whereas, I can happily have a trial for both. But then I'm guessing that's not really what you're aiming for, questions wise.
The thing about, like, in most of these games, there are some sort of paywalls. I think a good free-to-play game knows where to set the balance.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The important thing is, does the payment require expensive exploitative systems, or does it require you to just pay an actual subscription? Like, for instance, Elder Scrolls Online and DC Universe Online, for instance, both of those don't really have anything you can grind out to make yourself more powerful in the traditional sense. You can pay for a subscription that gets rid of those limitations, or you can buy the content individually. That kind of thing I'm okay with. It's when you have to buy 5,000 widgets to power up your widgetometer to get +5 defense, and half the time that 5+ defense bonus will break and reset your gear.
So Black Desert Online.
Say that again?
So Black Desert Online.
Pretty much. That game is ridiculous when it comes to grind. That's how you can actually make those systems work. Elder Scrolls is a really fun game. It's not the best MMO out there, but it is fun, and there is an audience of people who really do, like, genuinely enjoy the experience that Bethesda has offered. And when Bethesda creates an experience that doesn't drive you crazy every 10 minutes, that's a miracle unto itself. It's probably the least buggy game they've made in the last 10 years.
Something. That's saying something.
Masty also mentioned the Perfect World Entertainment games. While those guys do get a lot of flack for their end game grinds, most of the time those end game grinds are not related to, like, mechanical systems. Like, for instance, Star Trek Online, you can play that whole story. It has actors from all over the Star Trek universe, from every show, movie. George Takei, Leonard Nimoy, Janeway, freaking half the cast of Deep Space Nine are in that show or in that game. It's amazing. If you're a Star Trek fan, greatest thing ever. You can get to all those stories without ever paying a single penny. And the grinds are just for, like, a unique starship that's already obscenely more powerful than anything you actually need to complete the content.
So my question with this is that, I tend to play MMOs for power I like player power progression, right? That's what I'm looking at here. So I don't mind doing the grind as it were for my sake. Let's take Azurite, right? I have quests available in the world, and I can go pick up those quests and I can do them and I can get the resource to fill the bar, and eventually the bar fills and we do it again. That I don't have a problem with that, because there's no way that now if I don't have a problem with that system as it is. Now, if that system had a way that I could buy a Azurite booster, TM Activision, then I would be upset, because now I know you have artificially slowed down my progression in order to get me to pay. And I see that being a big problem again with the free-to-play thing, is that, yeah, you can play. I hope you have 1,900 hours a day to sit here and hit 3 buttons, because otherwise your friend who paid $3 is going to come over and cock slap you.
That's one way of phrasing it, I guess.
Well, I wanted maximum disrespect. Maximum disrespect.
And what limitations does RuneScape have if you don't pay, Mike?
So you're locked out of a lot of the skills. Some of the biggest money makers are pay to play. Some of the best monsters, the best bosses, they're all pay to play. And as I said at the start, with RuneScape, you're limited to about 4 or 5 cities, like major cities anyway. So you have a very, very small world in comparison. I think I think the members world, pay to play, I think now is about 25 times bigger than the free to play.
So you basically have to pay.
Basically,
it's not really a free to play game. That's where I take an issue when it's like pretending to be free. Like,
the biggest thing is there is an area where, the way I look at it, I always go for like, does it feel, as Nim was saying, does it feel sort of like you're artificially making me pay? And the best example is one of the towns, Falador, borders with the Seers Village. Falador is free to play. Seers Village is pay to play. And there's one gate that stops you from getting over there. And literally, if you try to go through that gate without paying, it basically just says, no, you need to pay to be here. There's no reason given in a story context that says why you can't go through without paying. It's just basically give me money, and you can come through.
I have a quick question for the community, the people in the chat right now. Mm-hmm. If you could suggest a free-to-play MMO that people should sit down and give their time to, what one would you suggest? I'll also give this to you guys. Also, this totally includes mobile games if you think there's decent. I admit that Tales of Wind has some obnoxious limitations at the very end, but it's actually a fun little game. And I do pop into it every now and then, and I have enjoyed actually fighting some of the bosses with people. There was some degree of challenge. I'm not going to pretend it's anywhere near as complex as World of Warcraft, but it was fun. And I've never put a penny into the game.
I can't think of any free-to-play that I would recommend per se outside of... I like Rift. Rift is fun. It can be... There's a lot. You can get access to all the content. I think you can get access to all the content. It's just going to be a slower leveling process. I would say that as a free-to-play, that's not bad, because you'll eventually catch up. It'll just be slower. And the leveling and the first 50 levels where everything's balanced is fine, and you can have a lot of fun there. After that, after the first 50 levels, I think the development team got axed, so there's less balance and a lot more swings, to the point where I went from 69 to 70. I couldn't do a level 70 base story quest until I was raid geared. I couldn't solo it, and I was like, are you kidding me? I'm playing the high DPS mage spec as a pyromancer, and I'm like, I can't solo this. And it didn't say anywhere that it was a group quest. If it said group anywhere in there, I'd have been like, oh, okay, obviously I'm not meant to solo this. And the mob density in there was like, I'd walk 2 steps and be like, oh, hey, look, something's trying to kill me. I'm going to go pick this herb. Something's trying to kill me. I'm going to go pick this, mine this rock. Hey, look, something came out of the rock trying to kill me. So it was a little rough. I think Macy has a question, though, in the chat.
Go ahead, Nim. She was asking. Sorry about that. I had to just do something quickly. What sets the price? When do you think it's worth paying for the experience? Basically, if a game was free, when would you say it's okay to pay?
Oh, that's completely subjective. For me, is if I feel value for money, I will pay almost immediately. I always make this joke on stream. This is my wallet. There are many like it, but this one is mine. If you try to open it up, I'm going to pull it away. But if you give me fun stuff that I like, I'll open it up for you and give you what's inside. Like,
say, $10 for a new dungeon?
I mean, depends on the dungeon.
The content obviously has to be good. That's
okay. So let's hypothetically say there's a track record. I would pay $10 for a new dungeon. I got no problem with that, provided that it's not a super, provided that the items are on par power-wise with what is currently available. I don't mind if it's a cooler appearance, whatever. This is the outfit I wear when I murder people. No one's going to be alive to see what I look like afterwards. I'll tell them I looked badass. But that's but as long as it's not like, oh, I went to the paid dungeon and miraculously all the trinkets that drop are, I don't know, 70% better. That's weird how that works out.
Fuck that.
That's weird how that works out. But yeah, that's what I would call value for money. Is if you give me value, you give me enjoyable time and value for money, or enjoyable and value for the time I put in there. I got no problem throwing a couple of bucks at stuff.
Let me throw a tangent into the works here for a moment. What about the idea of paying once and never paying again? Do you think that
buy to play?
Do you think that buy to play? Like, do you think that should be more common?
The problem with buy to play is that, like, I use Guild Wars 2 as an example. Guild Wars 2 has a great story. Obviously, and they actually reward you for world content clearing. But I don't like the fact that I keep getting these Black Lion chests. Like every other mob is a black, and then they had a holiday where you get double Black Lion chests. Oh, isn't that great? Can I get double keys? No.
You can sell your own money in that game to get the currency, so they do actually alleviate, and it's a fairly decent exchange rate. If you're a stock market broker, you're going to be fine in that game, because you're like, I'm going to sell this here at this time in this quantity to get this thing, then I'm going to buy this person's stuff and then mark up the price when it becomes super.
No, my buddy Stricken in WoW is in the chat. He plays the AH in WoW all the time. Like, that's all that is his version of PvP.
Fair dues to Stricken. I admire anyone that actually has the mental capacity to keep track of that stuff, because I just look at it and I'm like, okay, I can mark this down by 10 cents. There we go. So, you got to the end of the video, huh? Thank you for checking out today's discussion. If you enjoyed our guests or the subjects we were talking about, please consider checking the links down below. All the information will be there. You can find us on all the social medias and all the usual places under the name No Word Count. And if you really enjoyed the conversation, please do consider checking us out on Patreon and Twitch and helping to support the channel, because that will just help us to continue bringing you more great discussions with more great people. Take care of yourselves. Stay beautiful.